Welcome back to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe World Record Review. March 2021 is in the books, and with it, 69 new world records. Once again, thank you to everybody for all of your support. We really appreciate it. Please leave any feedback you have in the comments below, as we're always looking to improve. Also, we're excited to say that we have some new narrators joining us this month. In March, we saw 42 150cc world records broken across 10 unique tracks. Let's dive right into the world records we saw in March of 2021.
Starting things off, we got Big Blue. On March 1st, Stir continued his reign on the track and improved his time by 33 milliseconds to get the first .5 with a 123.583. Stir returned to this track only one day prior, and he actually de-rusted really fast, which gave him the motivation to continue on day 2. He knew that he had to be around 0.1 and 1 frame ahead to break the pace, so he started attempting it. On this track, pace break attempts trick on the right ramp after the conveyor belt and go for a UMT the turn after, instead of going to the left ramp for the boost panel and getting an SMT. Now let's talk about the run itself. Lap 1 was pretty good, but it could have been 1 frame faster due to a bad motion glider. Lap 2 is average for Stir, but he knew that it could still be fast enough to break pace. Lap 3 was amazing. It had no huge driving errors and turned out to be the BKS Lap 3 for pace break. Stir was really happy when he crossed the line and saw the .5. He says he'll definitely come back here for an even faster time, but is satisfied for now. One last thing Stir wants to mention is that the first boost panel of Section 3 becomes harder to hit the faster you go, so he may eventually implement a strat by Themo, which goes for an extra MT and hits a boost panel on the right. Even though it's harder, he may have to go for it to get the most out of this track. The best known splits give a 123.583, but recently Stir loaded to a 123.500. Congratulations, Stir, on your time here this month, and I personally wish you the best of luck on future attempts.
Hello everybody, my name's Plunky, and I'm happy to say that I have joined the World Record Review team. I hope that everybody watching has been enjoying the series so far, and I also hope that you enjoy any world records that I cover in the future. The next track to be improved this month was Toad Harper. On March 4th, Kai reclaimed his record after 271 days, lowering Nasuno's time by 5 milliseconds to get a 2:03.213. Lap 1 was pretty bad, as Kai would prefer a 41 lap. Lap 2 was solid, but this put him 106 milliseconds behind Nasuno going into lap 3. However, Kai was able to clutch out a new BKS lap 3 to get the improvement. A week later, on March 11th, Nasuno returned and lowered the record by 31 milliseconds, achieving a 2:03.182. On lap 1, the line on the turn before the train bounce was pretty bad, losing between 30 and 50 milliseconds. Nasuno also said that on lap 3, the boost panel trick could be improved by tricking later, and he could have gotten the SMT earlier at the shortcut. The next day, Kai would come back to set a final time of 2:03.127. This lap 1 was also unfortunate in that it was a 42 lap. However, once again, Kai got a huge BKS lap 3 to bring in the record. The best known splits between Nasuno and Kai give a 2:02.933, and both players say they believe that sub is possible. Kai said that he will go for at least a 2:03.0 sometime in the future. Congratulations to Nasuno and Kai on your records here this month, and best of luck on future improvements.
Up next, we're going to Wild Woods. On March 5th, Nasuno achieved his first world record on this track, improving Scary's time by 32 milliseconds to achieve a 147.341. Lap 1 wasn't bad, but it could have been a low .5 if he had gotten the edge trick. Lap 2 had a bad line before the glider, and also during the water stream section. Lap 3 also had a bad line at this part. 2 days later, Scary would reclaim his record, bringing it down to a 147.315, and 2 days after that, on March 9th, Scary would improve by 58 milliseconds to bring in the first .2 on this track at a 147.257. Previously, the shroom strat was to use the first mushroom as a start shroom, and then to use the second and third mushrooms through the grass ramp at the end of laps 1 and 2, which then led to doing the cut shroomless on lap 3. For his .315 and .257 runs, Scary adopted a new 1-2-0 shroom strat. This strat does the shroomless cut at the end of lap 1, and instead uses that mushroom through the barrel on lap 2. However, later on the same day, Scary would improve by 91 milliseconds and achieve a 147.166, this time with a 111 shroom strat. This was the first 3-for-3 Nisk run, which meant Scary used his first shroom as a start shroom, and the next two through the barrel on laps 2 and 3, successfully doing the shroomless cut at the end of each lap. For the other parts of the run, some time loss comes from missing the edge trick on lap 1 and getting a bad line here on lap 3. Nasuno says that if these were done better, this could have been a .0. The best known splits with this 111 shroom strat give a 147.099, a bit slower than the 120 BKS of 147.039. Congrats to Nasuno and Scary on your times here this month, and best of luck on bringing this track down even further.
Cloudtop Cruise was the next track to have some activity. On March 11th, Alberto achieved his first world record on the track, improving Nasuno's time by 6 milliseconds to achieve a 2:00.525. Nasuno's lap 1 was the weakest lap in the run, so Alberto was shocked when he got the record with a slower lap 1. He lost a lot of time to the glider wall hit and got awful end tricks, and missed the small bounce at the end of the lap, which lost 30 milliseconds. On lap 2, he missed the slide landing after the first super bounce and missed the bounce again at the end of the lap. Lap 3 heavily carried the run and was actually the new best known split. The ending was an insane save. Alberto clipped the leaf at a weird angle and it pushed him really far to the left, so he had to fit in an empty before the line in order to beat Nasuno. Luckily, he had the reaction time down and was able to get it done. The next day, on March 12th, Alberto improved 4 times. Starting it off, he improved by 50 milliseconds to achieve a 2:00.475. Next, he improved by 4 milliseconds to a 2:00.471, where lap 2 was a, quote, disaster, due to a weird wall boost at the airship section. Alberto improved this by 7 milliseconds to a 2:00.464, and then by 18 milliseconds to a 2:00.446, which was his fastest pace ever gotten in a world record run. So lap 3 suffered from nerves and a really slow glider where he hit too much of the cloud, losing an astronomical amount of time. On March 13th, Alberto improved 5 times. First, a 2:00.421, then a 2:00.417, then a heartbreak with a 2:00.352, which had Alberto's worst lap 3 ever in a world record run. Then the opposite for a 2:00.345, which had a new BKS lap 3. Then a 2:00.329 to end the day. Finally, on March 14th, Alberto achieved a 2:00.285. Overall, Alberto is very happy with this run and with how fast he progressed on the track. There is still some time to squeeze before the max pace, as you can still get the boost panel during the last frame of the lightning, like the 200cc world record does currently. A low .2 is what Alberto considers the limit, but he won't be going for it as of now. The best known splits gave a 2:00.167. Congratulations Alberto on your records here this month.
The next track for this month is Wii Grumble Volcano. For those who saw the January recap, you'll remember that Panda improved the record here 17 times, finding some new strats along the way. This month, Panda improved 3 times, but did again find some new strats. Starting it off, Panda improved by 16 milliseconds to achieve a 153.645. This run implemented a new Nisk that Panda actually found on accident. The strat is the MT trick off of the same ramp as before, but instead of landing into a drift, you just land completely neutral with a very slight slide. This lets you glide over the off-road with barely any stopping. This is faster than the original new Nisk due to going tighter, and it also makes the old ramp strats into the next lap possible to do again. However, it's very inconsistent. For the run itself, lap 1 was overall pretty good, but lap 2 wasn't too good, with a bad slip strat out of the cave. On the first turn of lap 3, Panda stuck to the dirt when performing the mini turbo, which lost around 50 milliseconds. A few days later, on March 20th, Panda improved by 29 milliseconds to a 153.616. This run mostly cleaned up the big mistakes from the 645, but the ending lap 3 Nisk was slow with a high trick. The next day, Panda improved by 51 milliseconds to achieve the first 153.5 on the track at a 153.565. This once again revised the ending Nisk strat. The new strat consists of MT tricking as always, and then drifting like the old strat. and getting an MT but releasing early to then slide on the next ramp to be able to do the old ramp strat at the beginning of the next lap. This is faster than the previous strat, but also more consistent. For the run itself, lap 1 was very clean, but lap 2's NISC was not that good, which led to a bad setup for the beginning of lap 3. Overall, Panda is happy with his improvements here. The best known splits give a 153.408, and Panda hopes to achieve a 0.4 for now. Congratulations Panda on your continued dominance on this track.
Up next, we're heading over to Water Park, which was improved 5 times in just one day. On March 19th, Alberto would reclaim his world record here, defeating the previous time by 52 milliseconds to achieve a 140.739. With this run, Alberto reached his new peak of 31 current standing world records. The run itself was very average and had a slight wall hit after releasing the first SMT of lap 2, which cost around 40 milliseconds. This was also the first record to implement Motion Glider on this track, which saves about 50 to 80 milliseconds per lap depending on how well it's done. The next improvement was by 46 milliseconds to a 140.693. This run was still sloppy, but he didn't make any big mistakes. This was followed up by a 42 millisecond improvement to lower the record to a 140.651. Lap 1 was the strongest here by far. Lap 2 had a slight off-road hit at the turn before the glider, and lap 3 just could have gone better. Alberto improved this time by 13 milliseconds to achieve a 140.638, which was exactly the opposite of his last run. Lap 1 ruined it, but lap 2 was solid and lap 3 was a new best known split. A few hours after he set the 651, Alberto remembered that Soman beat his record once by simply doing better hops at the end, so that's exactly what he did to improve here. Finally, Alberto improved by 41 milliseconds to bring in the 0.5 with a 140.597. This run was overall very consistent, despite lap 1 being a little below average. Alberto was happy to get a 0.5 here, but this run isn't the greatest by any means, so he may return in the future. There are still time losses against Chappie that he hasn't fixed, but he hopes to improve in the future. The best known splits currently add up to a 140.475. Congratulations Alberto on your improvements here this month.
Next up is 3DS DK Jungle. On March 23rd, Stir improved his time by 44 milliseconds to hit a 201.297. Stir says that there isn't much to say about this run, as his old run only did one of 2 Ultra Bounces, which saves an easy 100 milliseconds per lap. Lap 1 was actually not the greatest, and Stir would have restarted if not for the Ultra Bounce gain on lap 2. After he got the bounce, he was ahead of his Ghost and kept this lead all the way to the end of the lap, but then nerves got to him and he tricked to the right, which lost quite a bit of time. However, this was still the new best known split. On lap 3, Stir pulled himself together and was able to get a lap barely slower than the BKS. The best known splits give a 201.220, and Stir says he will return later to get the low 0.2. Congratulations Stir on your record here this month!
Alright, now let's go to Dolphin Shoals. On March 29th, Stir achieved his first world record on this track, but it would definitely not be the last. Over the next week, Stir absolutely demolished the track, but for this video, we will only focus on what he was able to get done in March. And boy was that a lot. Stir says he came to this track because he asked his girlfriend what would be nice to time trial, and she said that he should try to improve old records as they didn't keep up with strat changes. He started time trialing Dolphin Shoals and immediately noticed that he was gaining time over the world record everywhere. He set some new PRs and eventually subbed 156, which at the time was 3rd worldwide, tied with Alberto. He was really happy with this time, but noticed that his lap 2 was ahead of world record, so we knew he had potential. Stir continued his improvements in secret as he was attempting to beat one of the longest reigns in the game to date. Yujiro had held the world record on this track for 1,042 days since May 2018. Stir improved, and there it was, a 155.130, beating Yujiro by almost 0.1. During this grind, Stir noticed that this track was extremely unoptimized, so he continued. On the same day, Stir improved by 172 milliseconds, achieving the first 154 on this track at a 154.958, a time many doubted for months. Stir didn't stop here though. Stir improved 5 times on both March 30th and March 31st. Rapid fire time. Starting it off with a 165 millisecond improvement, a 154.793. then a 154.784, 154.782, 154.634, 154.582, 154.534, then a 154.519 and a 154.428, which were unfortunately so fast that we didn't get the recordings, a 154.217, and finally a 154.143. Starting with the .428, Stur used a new glider strat, which he would use in every run after this. Found by Coco, the strat is to get an extra MT at the glider, which saves an astronomical amount of time, around 150 milliseconds per lap. We would go more in depth on the runs, but Stur was honestly just driving fast, and also this barrage of improvements just happened to coincide with the end of March. Stur did not stop, and the first few days of April were filled with many more improvements. So stay tuned to next month where we finish up Dolphin Shoals and go over all the new strat changes. The best known splits at the end of March were the 3 laps in Stur's 154.143 record. Congratulations Stur on your insane improvements this month. We hope you get the sub in April. I don't know, maybe it's happened. And we'll be back with the rest soon.
Next up, we're going to SNES Rainbow Road, which had its first record here in 245 days. On March 30th, Paco Gaida continued his reign since December 2019 and improved his record by 21 milliseconds to set a 126.474. This run added a new mini-turbo on lap 1, which can save 10 to 20 milliseconds before the last turn, and gives a higher chance to get the lucky boost at the end of lap 1, which is just a slightly faster double trick. Paco says that the BKS for lap 1 is a bit faster, but it doesn't really matter since you're pace locked by the trick on lap 2 after the first Nisk. On lap 3, Paco added a new mini-turbo which saves around 20 milliseconds. The faster you get the waves before the last turn, the further you fall after the second turn, so he took the turn less tight than before. He held the last super mini-turbo a little as he was afraid to skip the last trick, and Paco says that watching the replay, he's afraid you can't trick any further. The best known splits give a 126.259, however, that's way faster than the world record will ever be because this track is pace locked up to the very last trick. Congratulations Paco on your improvement here this month.
For the last track of March, we're heading back to Bowser's Castle, where some of you may remember Alberto's Rampage from January. On March 31st, Alberto improved his time by 30 milliseconds to set a 159.535. In the January video, we talked about how this track is pace locked, but we'll briefly cover it again. Bowser's Castle is pace locked at the Bowser's Fist section. Arriving at the waves section on lap 2 later and getting the good waves more than makes up for it if you had arrived earlier and not gotten them. So the run essentially starts after this part. Alberto said that for this run, laps 1 and 2 were good, although still improvable by about 20 milliseconds. Lap 3 went fine overall, but the turn before the split path was a bit wide. However, it was still a very fast lap. Overall, Alberto is really happy with his run and was surprised to get in after just one day of coming back to the track. It feels relieving to finally have a run that gets a good pace into lap 3 and a good lap 3, since none of his previous runs had both. Alberto said that he will leave this track for now since improving this further will take a huge grind. The best known splits, with the combined laps 1 and 2 due to the pace lock, give a 159.494. Congratulations Alberto on your improvement here this month.
And that wraps us up for 150cc this month. If you were listening closely, you would notice that I'm also brand new to the World Record Review team. My name is John Slater, also known as JP Givener. I run my own YouTube channel, and I give her full throttle. You know the drill. If you're interested, feel free to check my channel out. Links to everyone else that works on this series will be in the description as well, so be sure to subscribe to all of us if you're enjoying this series. And of course, the 200cc World Record Review for March should be up in a couple days time, so we hope you look forward to that. But until next time, thank you so much for watching, have yourselves a fantastic day, and keep on giving her, bud.